Welcome to the snapshot of How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less by Nicholas Boothman. Here, we'll explore the key insights from How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. Introduction. Scientific research suggests a difficult reality. People decide whether they like you or not within a few seconds of seeing or hearing you for the first time. This first impression will influence every thought they'll have about you going forward. Another difficult reality is that what other people think of you is a huge indicator of your quality of life. The opinions of others can affect you in job interviews, in your love life, and in making friends. Additionally, people who are more socially active tend to live longer. In an age of remote communication, many of us mistakenly underestimate the value of face-to-face connection. The ability to meet and effectively connect with others has been an essential skill throughout human history and continues to be today. In this snapshot, you will learn insights based on research from the field of neuro-linguistic programming to understand how you can make your best first impression. The method explained in How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less involves developing a rapport in a three-part process. 1. First contact. What must you do in the first seconds of meeting someone to establish yourself as likable? 2. The 90-second land of rapport. Harness your attitude and body language to establish a positive connection. 3. The secrets of communication. Home in on sensory preferences and use them to your advantage. Upon finishing this snapshot, you will have a toolbox you can take into the world to start making connections that are crucial to your success and happiness. First contact. You may be wondering why we're focusing on likability and not respect or intrigue or any number of other desirable qualities. This is because the essence of likability is that others see you as approachable, trustworthy, and confident, and are drawn to you. When you present this way, it will take the burden to always initiate interactions from you, because others will want to come over and introduce themselves. You may also think 90 seconds seems like an arbitrary amount of time, but there are two reasons for establishing this window. The first is that our lives are busy, and we don't always have a long time to make a first impression. The second has to do with the human attention span. We are only able to focus on something we find uninteresting for about 30 seconds. The goal is to capture, then sustain others' attention past the moment when it might otherwise begin to wander. First impressions. The first step in establishing a connection with another person is meeting, the moment when you are in close physical proximity and acknowledge each other. Important things to keep in mind when greeting someone include fully face the person you are meeting. This body language conveys openness. Establish eye contact. Demonstrate your positivity and sincerity with a smile. Take the lead in introducing yourself with an upbeat tone and extending your hand. Subtly tilt or lean toward the person to communicate your interest. All of these actions are methods of communication that convey a message about yourself to the other person. To be your most successful, it is important to have a clear idea about what you want your message to be. Consider your goals for meeting people in particular settings and situations, and structure your approach with them in mind. It's key to note that the objective of these first few seconds of the interaction is to establish a rapport, a sense of comfort between you and the other person. This creates the feeling within the other person that you are worthy of their attention and that they'd like to know more about you. The 90-second land of rapport. Whether your goal in an interaction is to land a date, a business deal, or anything in between, achieving your desired outcome depends on establishing a rapport. Rapport gives you the credibility necessary to give the message you want to communicate a good chance of serious consideration. There are three main ways through which a rapport develops: naturally, by chance, and by design. Natural rapport happens when you and another person have common opinions, interests, and/or modi operandi that serve as foundations for mutual trust. Rapport by chance occurs if a situation connects you to each other. For example, if you're traveling in a country where you don't speak the language and you meet someone from your home nation who you can talk to, you have a good chance of developing a rapport. Finally, there is rapport by design, the focus of this snapshot. To intentionally build a rapport, you want to sync yourself with the other person. An easy first step is finding shared interests or experiences. A subtler but even more important technique is mimicking the mannerisms, tone, vocal rhythm, and other cues of the other person. Attitude. Whether you like it or not, your external presentation is the tray upon which your internal attitude is served to those in your company. You have little to no control over filtering a negative mood out of a conversation. This is why you must take great care to shape your internal feelings. Have you ever kept returning to a bank or dentist or restaurant just for the customer service? When this happens, the employees at that business are keeping your loyalty with their attitudes, and you can feel and appreciate the difference. The operative categories when it comes to structuring your attitude are useful and useless. Some examples of useful attitudes are enthusiasm, helpfulness, and patience. Useless attitudes include conceitedness, self-consciousness, and boredom. You should choose the useful attitude that will work best depending on your goals for a particular situation. For example, you would want to choose a confident approach over a laid-back one when meeting to make a business deal. Body language. The posture and gestures of your body, including your facial expressions, account for over half of how others perceive you. You'll want to aim for inclusive body language that will make others comfortable in your presence. The main way we make our presence feel inclusive is through openness. For example, having your hands open when you gesture and keeping your arms uncrossed ensures that you appear open to the other person. Even unzipping your coat can make a big difference. In contrast, having your arms or legs crossed signals defensiveness. When we are nervous, we often fall into these closed-off mannerisms, so you need to pay careful attention to avoid them. Facial expressions should convey interest, perhaps with a raised eyebrow or a nod here and there. Body language, words, and tone are the three main elements of communication. Keeping these factors in alignment is foundational to establishing rapport by design. If someone says they're doing great, but does so with a flat tone while their eyes dart around the room, you're unlikely to believe their words, or feel you can trust them going forward. Overall, people are much more likely to believe your body language over your words when the two don't align. A final technique for controlling your physical presence is to slow down. The nervousness many of us experience when meeting new people can cause us to talk faster than we otherwise would. Taking deep breaths can slow down the physiology of your body and help you calm down. You can also try reframing your nervousness as excitement. Hopefully, these tools will help your unique characteristics shine through. Synchronicity. People who spend a lot of time with each other often develop similar behaviors. As kids grow up, they receive and internalize messages and actions from their parents and others in their immediate environment. This learning process continues through your life. This synchronicity is a natural way that humans connect with each other. It helps us feel safe and develop trust. And it's why, when we have a choice of who to be around, we typically gravitate toward those who are already like us. But we don't want to sit around and wait to see if synchronicity comes naturally or not. Getting in sync needs to come from matching your visual, verbal, and vocal signals with the other person's. Visually, for example, you might lean your head to match their posture or use similar hand gestures. Vocally, you could emulate the tone or rhythm of their speech. And in your word choice, try to copy a turn of phrase or borrow a bit of vocabulary from the other person. You may worry that your conversation partner will notice your mimicry, but odds are they won't. We generally don't even consider the intricacies of our own behavior, and all of these suggestions are subtle enough not to raise any suspicion. At first, you'll need to go out of your way to practice synchronicity, but after a few days of steady practice, mimicking should start to feel like second nature. The secrets of communication. Let's say you've had a perfect introduction and started to build a solid rapport. Now you have to continue the conversation. When we think about conversation, we usually think about talking, while forgetting about its equally important partner, listening. It's a great idea to get the other person talking, especially if you're nervous about meeting new people. This will take the burden off your tied-up tongue and give you a plethora of information about their interest, which you can use to build rapport. Asking insightful questions and actively listening will further enhance your ability to improve rapport. When asking questions, you should aim to present open questions that necessitate explanations instead of yes or no questions, which can quickly stall the conversation. The obvious common ground is that you're both in the same space, so it's safest to precede your initial questions with a statement about your surroundings, such as your reason for being there, and then present your question. For example, if you're at a party hosted by a mutual friend, you could say, "Gary's house has such a great view. I'm glad he had us all over to share it." Then, "How do you know Gary?" The second key to listening is doing so actively. This means showing that you're interested in what the other person is saying and attuned to the feelings behind their words. As discussed earlier, body language goes a long way. Demonstrate your attention by maintaining eye contact, staying leaned slightly forward, and nodding your head when appropriate. You can also use encouraging sounds or phrases like, or "no way." Hopefully your conversation will develop a balanced back and forth as you build trust. During your conversation, be mindful of some common pitfalls. Don't interrupt your conversation partner. Don't finish their sentences for them. Only they know what they're going to say next. Don't complain or criticize in this initial conversation. Don't forget to attend to hygiene, especially oral hygiene. No bad breath or spinach between your teeth. Avoid one-word answers. They are boring and stall the conversation. Sensory preferences. Our senses are the means through which we perceive the world, but every person has distinct sensory preferences, which determine how they interpret their surroundings. The three main sensory types are visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. You can determine someone's sensory preference in the way they speak, such as when describing a place or event. Visual people paint pictures with their words. Auditory people focus on describing sounds, and those with kinesthetic preferences emphasize physical sensations. When you have the same sensory preferences as another person, it's easier to establish rapport because of similarities in how you both understand the world. We can also use our knowledge about sensory preferences to intentionally build synchronicity with a conversation partner. If you can determine what sense the other person primarily prefers, you can start to integrate it into your behavior, which will help them feel at ease. Building your intuition of sensory preferences. These profiles will help support you as you learn how to read your conversation partners. Visual people typically talk fast and gesture a lot. They are often the kind of people who will pull out their phone to show you pictures from their vacation, their pets, or their kids. They tend to dress well and maintain good posture. Consider their line of work as well. If they are visual artists of any sort, this is likely where their sensory preference lies. Kinesthetics talk slowly, using easygoing tones and gestures. They tend to add many details to their stories because they want you to be able to feel like you were there. They may work in fields such as medicine, construction, emergency services, or performance. Auditories tend toward a medium speaking pace. They often speak with a high level of expression and rhythm. Their line of work may include a lot of speaking, such as teaching, broadcasting, counseling, or law. Once you're able to determine someone's sensory preference, you'll want to use that knowledge toward building rapport. Here are some words you can use that will particularly connect to each type of person. Visual words are words that help us build mental images. Some visual phrases are, "Let me make this clear," "Beyond the shadow of a doubt," and "I see what you're saying." Auditory words describe how the world sounds, and many are descriptions of tones in speech. They include inquire, scream, resonate, utter, harmonize, and boom. Examples of visual phrases are, "Let me tell you," "Sounds familiar," and "That rings a bell." Kinesthetic words pertain to touch, action, and physical sensation, such as firm or soft, push or pull, squeeze or release, hot or cold, and throw or catch. Phrases that kinesthetic people may often use are, "I'll get in touch," "I'm feeling the pressure," and "I can't put my finger on it." Sometimes you'll be unable to determine someone's sensory preference. In that case, do your best to cover the bases by including phrases that connect to all three major senses. Even when you can't home in on another person's preference, your dedication means that you're paying careful attention to the conversation, which is a positive outcome in itself. Building your intuition of sensory preferences. These profiles will help support you as you learn how to read your conversation partners. Visual people typically talk fast and gesture a lot. They are often the kind of people who will pull out their phone to show you pictures from their vacation, their pets, or their kids. They tend to dress well and maintain good posture. Consider their line of work as well. If they are visual artists of any sort, this is likely where their sensory preference lies. Kinesthetics talk slowly, using easygoing tones and gestures. They tend to add many details to their stories because they want you to be able to feel like you were there. They may work in fields such as medicine, construction, emergency services, or performance. Auditories tend toward a medium speaking pace. They often speak with a high level of expression and rhythm. Their line of work may include a lot of speaking, such as teaching, broadcasting, counseling, or law. Once you're able to determine someone's sensory preference, you'll want to use that knowledge toward building rapport. Here are some words you can use that will particularly connect to each type of person. Visual words are words that help us build mental images. Some visual phrases are, "Let me make this clear," "Beyond the shadow of a doubt," and "I see what you're saying." Auditory words describe how the world sounds, and many are descriptions of tones in speech. They include inquire, scream, resonate, utter, harmonize, and boom. Examples of visual phrases are, "Let me tell you," "Sounds familiar," and "That rings a bell." Kinesthetic words pertain to touch, action, and physical sensation, such as firm or soft, push or pull, squeeze or release, hot or cold, and throw or catch. Phrases that kinesthetic people may often use are, "I'll get in touch," "I'm feeling the pressure," and "I can't put my finger on it." Sometimes you'll be unable to determine someone's sensory preference. In that case, do your best to cover the bases by including phrases that connect to all three major senses. Even when you can't home in on another person's preference, your dedication means that you're paying careful attention to the conversation, which is a positive outcome in itself. Conclusion. Mastering the skills laid out in this snapshot may seem daunting at first, but you might find comfort in the fact that they will all come naturally if you put in just a little practice. This is best approached by working on a few skills at a time, building a reliable toolbox as you go. One final lesson: confidence goes a long way. Instead of anxiously looking for signs that your interaction is going poorly, assume the best. Suspect that you can trust the other person, that they like you, and that you'll be able to get in sync with them, until proven otherwise. This positive mindset will benefit your perceived demeanor during a first meeting and will certainly help you make a great first impression. About Nicholas Boothman. Nicholas Boothman is an English-born, Toronto-based author and speaker. Boothman developed his skills for developing connections with strangers during his time as a fashion and advertising photographer. He is now a licensed master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming and consults with clients ranging from individuals to corporations. Thank you for listening to the snapshot of How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less by Nicholas Boothman.
Thank you for listening to our quick learning audiobook review series. If you liked what you heard, then check out our channel for more free audiobook reviews. We post new audiobooks every week. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell to be first to hear of our latest reviews.